Welcome back, WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and Baltimore Positive. We have positively been all over the Baltimore community here this weekend, talking to medical leaders and hospital leaders as well as university heads. You can check all of that out up in the BuyAToyota.com audio vault, as well as at Baltimore Positive. This guy's a Baltimore Positive guy, and certainly one of the people we're very, very appreciative to be one of our sponsors here and our friends and advisors and giving us good advice and talking a little football from time to time. And, Leonard Raskin, I would say this. We're not going to have any football to talk about. We better talk about it now, right, for a little while, right? Because you and I talk money, we talk finance, we talk, what people are doing with their money, we talk jobs, we talk all that. But this is the one week where we sat around eating wings, eating pizza, drinking beer, watching football for a weekend. It was kind of a nice little respite in a sea of, despair. And I know it's even worse than your ass because you got a senior that's not graduating on a stage and promming and doing all that stuff, right?
Yeah, well, I guess the good news is I would say better senior in high school than senior in college. Senior in college, it's like you miss it and they're throwing you out into the real world. Go to it. So that's not coming back. I have a niece who is senior Hofstra, and they told her that if they can't do graduation in July, she can come back next May with the next class. And it's like, really? I'm not doing that. Come on. So senior high school, at least he's got 4 years ahead of him to pick back up, get back to the world, and graduate in 4 years. It's like this will be like the kindergarten graduation. Okay, so it didn't happen. Move on to elementary school. So.
Well, you had a big weekend, right? It was draft, and your son, who's in the pep band up at Delaney, has picked a college, and I know at least if you can't graduate on stage, do the prom, do all that stuff, at least you'd like to think there is a college down the line. And Don Moeller's on here all the time. His niece is a senior, and she's committed to Roanoke, and she's hoping to get there. And so your boy has committed to where?
He's committed to The Ohio State University.
Oh, Brian Billick could be happy to hear about that because he's out in Columbus all the time with his grandkids out there. So
there you go.
Well, I don't. That's the wrong Big Ten school. You explained that to him, right?
Well, he didn't want Maryland from day one, and being a Delaney kid, and a lot of them look at Maryland as 13th grade. So he wanted to get away. He wanted to try something different, and since neither of his parents are Maryland alums, it gave him the opportunity to not feel that pressure that he would have to go to Maryland.
Where else was he considering?
A bunch. A lot of Northeast. He was looking at Wisconsin-Madison. He was looking at University of Toronto, University of Vermont. He's a history poli-sci major. He wants to teach when he gets done with college. So he likes the cold. He wanted the north. He wanted the east. He wanted cold. And he wanted to be able to play in a band. And like you said, he's in the marching band at Delaney. He's been in the marching band all 4 years, plays tenor sax. And unfortunately, Ohio State's marching band doesn't have tenor sax, but they got a pep band. They got some other opportunities, and he can certainly play in some jazz ensembles, some wind ensembles. So he's going to get to continue his music. He's going to get to do some great learning. Hopefully, he'll be able to be on campus and get to study abroad during his career and have a nice college experience and watch some good football, watch some good hoops. What the heck?
I don't know much about bands, and I know your boys marched in different stuff and been a part of bowls and marches and festivals, and I know the Delaney band. But for me with bands, I know of the Ohio State band because they have always come to Cleveland during a Ravens game to do the Ohio and dot the I and hang on Sloopy and all of that Ohio State crap that I dealt with, before Maryland was in the Big Ten. I saw and was a part of that out in Cleveland and sort of the tradition of all of that. But, I would say for this time and space, it's weird for everybody, right? It's weird for you and your wife as parents to not even know if he's going to make it to Ohio. I mean, we've had all the university presidents on this week. We've had Dr. Schatzel on over at Towson. We've had Freeman Rabowski, amongst others, on. And, there's a lot of uncertainty right now, not just financially, right, Leonard?
Absolutely. And one of the questions we're waiting for is, well, we know already orientation's online. The question is, does that first semester start online? Is he going to be on campus or is he going to be online? Everything they're saying so far, they expect kids to be on campus August to start school, and got our fingers crossed and hope for him and all the other students they get to be on campus and have that experience.
Leonard Raskin is here. He is our guest, our friend at Raskin Global, empowering people to choose their financial future. All right. Well, the first couple weeks, it's the reality sets in, and as I sit here and speak to you right now, I think I might have a PPP. There's a chance that maybe they'll call me back. We're still in this. I don't know, and I certainly don't have any money on my side of the fence. The $1,200 came, right? Everybody's in a different place, right? And I think day by day, especially if you have some financial challenges, it's going to get heavier, as we move forward here. Thoughts about the market and where people are right now, and thoughts that we're putting states back to work. At least that's going on, right?
Yeah, summer's starting. We had a bunch, about a half a dozen that never locked down. We've got another half a dozen-ish that are starting to come back online this week. We're seeing May 1st date for a lot of states are going to start opening up. What that means, who knows? You and I can own a shop, a store, a restaurant. We could choose to open back up because the state tells us we're allowed to open back up. The question is, are the customers going to be comfortable coming in? I would say from everything I'm reading, seeing, looking at right now, there's a good probably 25-30% of the population that's going to flood back into business, flood back into restaurants. They think it's all overblown, and they're interested to get up and get out and get started and support local business. I think there's another 30% that's at the other extreme. They're not leaving their house till there's a vaccine. And then I think there's just like an election, man. You got the vast middle, maybe 40%, 50% that don't know what the heck's going to happen and are happy to let those other people go first and see what happens, and then slowly but surely trickle out of their house and get back to it. But I think we've got to get business started again. As you said, the PPP has been critical to some businesses to stay afloat. But one of the things we're hearing from, unfortunately, too many of our clients, the government program for unemployment for some employees that have qualified for unemployment over a 6-8 week period here is actually paying people more to be on unemployment than to go back to work. So that's a financial conundrum that the government, I think, didn't necessarily intend, but it happened. So,
well, the unintended consequences all the way along, right? Like in every
Absolutely.
single way, this thing has had unintended consequences that, unintended. I mean, you can't predict anything that was going to happen here. And now 6, 7, 8 weeks, 10 weeks, once we get into the summer, once we get into the fall, I think we'll all have a better gauge on what just happened, right? I mean, and I think that anybody that was on front of this, Leonard, being predictive about it, you couldn't be some things you could be predictive about. I mean, I had Tim Bojanowski on here 8 weeks ago. He told me food shortages and food supply lines, that's the first thing that goes. That's going to be a problem. And it certainly has sort of reared itself. But the whole point of whether we're testing and how we're testing and whether the tests are even accurate when we're testing, all of that sort of lies in the abyss. And that's what really does worry me about this, is that that there is no playbook on this one, and the one playbook we had, the guy running the place didn't pay attention to. So,
bottom line is, it doesn't. I don't think it matters who's running the place. I don't think it matters who's in charge. I think the virus has a will of its own. It's caused a dramatic change in the world. Nobody ever foresaw anything that was coming. I don't care who you were. I don't care what party you're in. I don't care what your politics are. The thing that annoys me the most about any of it is the people that are crying and moaning, whether it's this guy didn't do the right thing or that guy didn't do the right thing. What I'd rather hear is, what do you think we should do about it? I'm a solutions guy. I'm not into blame. I'm not into 2020. We can all look back at January and say something should have been done different, or February something should have been done different. Who the heck knows? Nobody could have seen what was coming out of this thing, whether it be to the market, to the economy, to jobs, to whatever. I mean, the question just becomes, here we are. We're at the end of April. We don't have baseball. We had an NFL draft that was absolutely bizarre. We've got an economy that's absolutely in crazy shape. We've got a stock market that's now roaring higher with the anticipation that this economy is going to rev up and do amazing things again. And nobody has a clue. Bottom line is, nobody knows. And for me, as an investment advisor, that part of my life, what I know is, I've said this for 30 years, anybody that thinks they can tell you where the market's going short term, you should run as fast as you can to get away from. nobody has that crystal ball that can tell you where the next 10 or 20% move in the market is, which direction it is, or when it's going to happen. What I can tell you with all but certainty is the next 100% in the market is up. And what I say all the time to people is, if the next 100% is down, you really don't care about your money. Because the only way that happens is if we literally have global Armageddon and we're all going away and it doesn't really matter what's in your account. But assuming your future financial well-being does matter, when it comes to stocks, the next 100% up. When it comes to getting back to work, boy, people are getting antsy and they need to get back to work. Small business owners are going to lose their life's work, hope, dreams if this doesn't get going soon. And
I own a small business, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, I feel it. You know, it's just, and I know people out there. Confidence is where it's at, though, right? You're talking about the market coming back and the confidence that we're going to solve this, fix this, and normalize this sooner than later. That's what the market is betting on, right? Like, when you're talking about how do we solve it, where do we get to the point where we can all go to football games again? You know, to me, if you're not talking about testing and you're not talking about containment, I don't know that we have that, and I think we're trying to figure out where the confidence level would be. To your point, where 100% of the people feel like they're going to go out, right, and shop, and we're going to have 100% of the market back. Somewhere between here and there is really where we are, and what the whole market is selling is confidence. You know, can we be confident?
Absolutely.
If you go out with a mask on today, I need blueberries, Leonard. You know, I mean, I'm out of fruit. I got to go back to the market, right? You know, do I have confidence with a mask and gloves that I can navigate that, come home, rinse my stuff off, you know, put it away and eat it safely, take my shoes off? Yes. You know what I mean? I'm confident I can do that.
Right.
Without gloves and a mask, I would not go do that today. I would not.
Yeah, and that's going to be a personal choice for every single one of us. You know, everybody's got to make that call. When am I comfortable going out and doing those things? And we're going to be inhibited to some degree, our confidence, by those that are elected to represent us, that make decisions that weigh on our choices. And so you've got to say, okay, I gave my vote to A, B, or C from the local level, state level, federal level. As a result, I'm going to rely on their good judgment. Or in some places around this country, we're seeing people that are protesting against those people's better judgment because they believe their better judgment isn't better. And there's no knowing.
Ain't that America, as John Mellencamp once said, right?
Exactly. The thing that I would say is there's no knowing in which is right. As you said, it'll be months from now, maybe years from now, when we'll be able to look back and see what was the best course. Did we take the best course? And you may never know what was the best course because we took a course. You know, you can't say what if we'd have done this, it would have turned out that way, because we didn't do that. So we just got to go day by day, live in the present. I think the biggest, most important thing is watch where we are right now, move forward, just keep moving. Don't get stuck in this. And whether you're a small business owner and you got to make some hard decisions, whether you're an employee, you got to make some hard decisions, whether you're an investor and financially you can weather this storm perfectly well, you still have to make good decisions. And that's the hope. You know, that's what we're here at Raskin Global to do, is help people from a financial standpoint continue to make good decisions. And when it comes to their money, that's what we believe we do best. All the rest of it, I can't tell you whether to go out with a mask, without a mask. I can't tell you whether to go out or stay home. What I know is I can help you position your money so you've got emergency money, you got good liquidity in case, you got protection for your family, you have the health insurance, the life insurance, the things to protect you from catastrophe, and then we got you invested well so that your long-term next 100% up comes in your pocket. That's what we do.
Leonard Raskin's been our friend for a long time, empowering people to choose their financial future, talking a little sports, a little life, a little real life, a little COVID life. And from the football perspective of the weekend, you got anything you want to say about the Ravens? Because certainly top of class, right? I mean, like, and I've talked to everybody, and it's, around the country, and you read all the Dan Jeremiah's and the Mel Kipers and all the praise and whatnot. A 14-2 football team with 6 picks in the top 106. And, your lad going to Ohio State, little Ohio State party for the Ravens this week, too.
Absolutely. I think they knocked it out of the park in my layman's season ticket holder expression. I think they crushed it. I mean, here's something you may not have thought about. I've certainly thought about from like the moment it happened. I think within a year, in Baltimore, Lamar Jackson among the female population may be the second hottest selling jersey on the street, because which lady isn't going to want to walk around with Queen on the back of her shirt? I mean, come on. I can already see my wife telling me I need a Queen jersey. Just what's his number going to be, and when is he going to be on the field? And I want to be a Queen, and that's going to be hot. Beyond that, I think he's a star. Look, they got some great picks, and as usual, how they find these picks in the late rounds, just amazing. They do a heck of a job, and by all accounts, everything I've seen and read says that they were the class of the AFC in the draft. And what's not to love about a 14-2 team just rocking and rolling and getting better?
Well, and I guess there was a little controversy on the running back pick in the second. I mean, that's what they do. They take the best player.
Why? Why would that be a controversy for anybody?
For a 31, we have a 31-year-old, soon-to-be 31-year-old running back around here in Mark Ingram. Right. I mean, I was not shocked by that at all. And when I saw his availability, I thought, yeah, I mean, it's not a quarterback like the Eagles did. Or, the Ravens will take a running back there. I don't think they would have taken a tight end. But a running back, yes, they would take.
Yeah, you got Mark Ingram, who's great, but how long did he sign? What was his deal? Is it a 2-year deal? A 3-year deal?
I mean, it never matters because they ripped that thing up anyway. But yeah,
I mean, but when you're talking about a 31-year-old guy, look, you look around the league. So this is purely your valley more than mine. But I watch this stuff. How many top running backs that got big contracts in the last 2 to 3 years got cut or released or let go? And these aren't older dudes. These are younger dudes, but a lot of wear on those tires. So I think you pick up a stud running back in the second round. I think that's a great pick. Ingram goes down or doesn't perform as well. You got a young kid to step in who's a bruiser. What the heck? I think it's brilliant.
Ingram was 3 for 15, so he's already a third of the way through the deal for him, and obviously the tread on the tire. But real leadership. I mean, you're surrounding the kid with the right people. You got 2 linebackers coming in here. They certainly fulfilled some of the needs on the offensive line as well, and just all the way around. It was a fascinating thing to watch Roger Goodell read off names while drinking cocoa in his slippers. Right?
It was something. He's sitting back on his easy chair, like, who's this guy? What is that about?
Do I know this guy?
Right. It was an interesting scene. I think what'll be kind of interesting to watch, and I haven't seen a lot of this. I really don't have time to see a lot of it, but some of the between the pick stuff that he was supposedly doing some TikToks, doing some dancing with some of the players, doing some stuff with their families. When's that going to come out? That'll be an interesting thing to see when that comes out.
They'll be releasing all the hidden gems with the commish over the weekend. Leonard Raskin, I'm wearing the shirt. I got the Invest mints here. It's hard for me to do radio with mints in my mouth. They are delightful, and they're very little mints. So I will tell you, these are nice mints, the Raskin Global mints. RaskinGlobal.com. I know you've done some online stuff, some seminars. I mean, I was one of the last things I did before the lockdown was I was out at the Raskin Global World headquarters and hung out with you guys for an evening and had a real primer on everything that you do. And you gave a real nice hour-long presentation about people's money. And I know it's sort of a money 101 for a lot of people who maybe are dissatisfied with the person who handles their money, or for the first time in their life, they're like, oh, wow, this virus thing, this isn't good. I better have a better plan B, huh?
Absolutely. People are calling. There's a lot of questions. There's a lot of panic and nerves, riled up. And let's face it, whether it's the pandemic, whether it's this or something else, there is never a good time to panic about your money. And so having a solid plan in place, a solid strategy. Planning's hard. Planning is the hardest thing to do. In the military, they say that you set up a military plan, and when the first shot's fired, it's all in the trash. Everything's new. Mike Tyson used to say, everybody had a plan until I punched him in the face. And in the greater world we live in, there's a line that says, man plans, God laughs. So when it comes to finances, one of the things we don't pretend to do is make long-term plans. What we do is we strategize. It's more chess than long-range planning. We're making moves based on what's going on around us, what's going on in your life, and there's constant strategy updates that need to be made based on what's happening. And you need to be on top of that. If you haven't talked to your advisor during this period, shame on you, shame on them. You got to pick up the phone. They got to pick up the phone. You got to be in contact and in touch. There's a lot to understand about what's going on. There's a lot of new changes in tax law. There's changes in student loan rules. There's changes in investing in the way that things can be done right now. There's so many new things happening. You've got to know what's going on around you to take best advantage of what's happening right now. You talked about the PPP loan. Lots of small business owners trying to get that. And we saw after the first round got done, somehow, some way, some companies that you and I might not consider small businesses got some big money. And
like the Los Angeles Lakers as an example?
Yeah, like Harvard, like the Los Angeles Lakers, like a bunch of companies got this money, and a lot of small businesses, quote unquote, didn't. The question is, how'd that happen? The banks are supposed to be the arbiters of the loans, and if a bank put them through and said they were approved, then who's in the liability seat here? First of all, a company had to apply. Second of all, bank had to do it. Third of all, government had to release the funds. Who knows what that's going to come back to when the government scrutinizes.
And meanwhile, I'm sitting here with my head in my hand saying, can someone at Wells Fargo just call me back and tell me what's up? You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I keep getting the email. I mean, I can read you the email out. I mean, every day it comes right around 1 o'clock, and it says, update on your application to the Paycheck Protection Program. We are doing everything we can to help our small business customers navigate this difficult and uncertain time. I mean, I'm literally reading it from you,
Yeah, and the question is,
we cannot confirm that all applications will be submitted and processed by the SBA before the funds are depleted, and we anticipate that demand will exceed available funding. So you might be screwed, and it says our name at the top, and we're not really sure. Is that good?
That's exactly right. And this screams out for a lot of things to happen. For instance, as a small business, you and tons of others in that same boat, who is your quote-unquote banker? Many small businesses never had a relationship with a banker that they could pick up the phone and be on the line with, like somehow the Lakers do, or somehow Ruth Chris did, or somehow Harvard did. And these are the things that after this and in the post-analysis, businesses and business owners are going to sit down and say, you know what, maybe that big national bank isn't my friend. Maybe a local community bank is who I want to tie my cart to. And if, God forbid, something like this happens again, or I need a banker, I really do have a banker to call. And so that's going to change. People that have insurance and lines of credit and home equity lines of credit, the tie over emergency access of money is critical. And who knows, all of this is going to wash out, but you've got to have a strategy for how to deal with these things. And unfortunately, 70% of our country doesn't have $1,000 in the bank. When this hit and you're laid off, you're wiped out, quickly wiped out.
Well, we've seen the lines of cars to get food and supplies. We saw Chef Jose Andres here last week with Mayor Young, and on and on and on and on. And to my point, I think it's going to get a little worse before it gets better. We just need to make sure we're washing our hands, staying safe, being patient. I'm waiting on Wells Fargo and the PPP and the government. They said they had my back, and the SBA. Well, we'll find out. You know what I mean? Like
That's right.
I'm sitting here waiting in line talking to you like everybody else, trying to make the world a little better while we're on this.
I think if there's one lesson, and again, back to what we said earlier, I don't care party, I don't care politics. I don't care beliefs. It screams out to me, and I've been espousing this for 30 plus years. You, whether it's you, the individual, you, the business owner, you, the employee, you, the whatever, you've got to look in the mirror and realize the person that's going to take care of you, your family, and your company is staring back at you. You can't rely on any business, any bank, any insurance company, any government. Your advocate is looking at you in the mirror, and you better step up and have your strategies in place so that when it hits the fan, you're ready, you're prepared. This was thought about. Worst case planning is a godsend when the worst case comes, and when everything works out well, you don't have to worry about it. The sprinkler system doesn't have to work in the building when it's not on fire. But when that flame starts, those things better spit out some water and put that fire out. And that's what you got to build for. You got to plan for that. You don't build the Bay Bridge to not sustain winds, even though most days here it's not windy enough to matter. You got to engineer your strategies for the worst case. And we do that. We've done that for 30 plus years for our clients and put them in a position. Now, would it be great if everybody that we work with could also get the PPP and the unemployment checks and the whatever, so they didn't have to tap into those emergency funds and those other things? Absolutely. But you better be able to make it through without any reliance on anybody else to pay that bill, or we're going to see lots of failures and lots of businesses that are never going to come back. And that's a shame, because that's America right there.
Well, I'm going to go to Ruth's Chris and Shake Shack now that they've returned the money, so for me. And my Ruth's Chris partners, believe it or not, Serious Steaks, different wing of all of that locally, and, the fallout of all of that. And I hope the Lakers gave the money, but maybe that's where my money's coming. When Jeannie decides to send the money back, I'll get my check. I don't know. I mean, I think, to your point, you've done this for 30 years. This is the ultimate stress test for everyone's. Whatever their strategy was, this is going to stress that, break it, or change it. And certainly for all of us, we have to have some elasticity in general,
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. Flexibility is all in right now. You've got to be able to hang in, hold on, and get through. And look, this seems, I know for me, certainly from my son, in his case, we talked about in the beginning as a high school senior, I think this month seems like an eternity in his life. And we all know that it feels like that. And the fact is, it's been like a month and a half. God knows we can't endure 6 weeks. I think back, I wasn't alive. I just see movies. I see media accounts. You think back to, what did 18-year-olds endure in World War II? What did 18-year-olds endure in Vietnam? And this 6 weeks, like, sit home, watch Netflix, play on your computer, talk to your friends. You got to be able to survive that kind of okay,
Tell him to pick up the sax and work on a song for me. Tell him to learn some Springsteen for me, all right?
That's right.
Get some Clarence Clemens in there.
That's big man up.
Yeah, man. We'll do a webcast together. He can play the sax. All right. Hey, love you, appreciate you. Hope everything's okay. I know we're washing our hands and keeping everybody calm and keeping our mental health together about all of us. You can find Leonard Raskin at Raskin Global. I'm wearing the shirt. He'll give you some nice mints to take home and some lip balm as well as some great advice on how to manage your money. Leonard, hang in there, man. We'll see you next week, all right? I mean, we have no sports here, no derby this weekend, none of that, but we'll figure it out. We'll navigate it.
There'll be something.
Maybe we'll get an NFL schedule here sometime soon. Nasty at WNST.net finds me. I am on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and Snapchat and everywhere the World Wide Web goes. We're keeping calm. We're staying local. We're totally Baltimore positive.